You do not have the right to commit war crimes, to commit a genocide, to kill all those children, and then hide and use as a shield. Oh, everybody's an anti-Semite.
When you have a terror regime like the Nazis who do engage in genocide, unless you finish them off completely and defeat the idea of militarism, that Hamas can achieve its objectives through military objectives and not diplomatic objectives, then you will never have peace.
You cannot bomb it into submission. They're replacing dead Hamas fighters at a rate of 5 to 1. This is going to come back to haunt you for years.
You tell Rabbi Shmuley that he'll burn in hell as well, because obviously he's a shame to Jews. Free Palestine. All right.
Morgan, listen to this. They attacked Israel on the 7th of October. They massacred Jews. What is not clear in what I say?
All you want is to take over the West Bank and Gaza. You want them all gone. That's the bottom line.
As you said, the audience will judge.
Israel's illegal occupations in the Palestinian West Bank are under intense scrutiny after a US citizen was brutally beaten to death by settlers. A 20-year-old who just opened an ice cream business at home in Florida was attacked on Friday night while visiting relatives and died before reaching hospital. Mike Huckabee, the US ambassador to Israel and normally a fierce advocate for settlers, called it a criminal terrorist act. The West Bank is 50 miles from Gaza and separated by uncompromising Israeli checkpoints. But violence has surged since October the 7th. Netanyahu's government has been expanding its occupation ever since, and the UN estimates that 1,000 Palestinians have been killed. Settlements have been a major barrier to peace for decades in the region. Most countries agree they are illegal, but many religious Israelis believe they have a divine right to be there. The current Israeli government is often accused of using the most aggressive settler groups as a proxy force for shrinking the Palestinian state, an issue highlighted in a recent documentary. The bigger picture, and Israel strikes today on Syria, as well as the Mossad conspiracies and anti-Semitism claims at the heart of the Epstein Files debate. We'll begin by talking to Daniela Weiss, who you just saw in that Louis Theroux clip, the leader of the settler group Nahala. Well, welcome to you, Daniela Weiss. Thank you for joining me on Uncensored. Let me start by asking you, Mrs. Weiss, you're known as the godmother of the Israeli settler movement. Is your ultimate ambition for all Palestinians to be removed from the West Bank and Gaza?
You ask if it's my, it's what I want. It's not ambition. Ambition I put into positive things. I mean, when people have to move from one place to another, it's not a question of ambition. I think there is no choice now, especially after the massacre of the 7th of October. The Gazans finished their chapter of history in Gaza, and they will have, the terrorists themselves will be killed in the attacks of the Israeli army, of Tzahal. And those who support them will have to go to emigrate to other countries. And I think as far as people who want to live normal life, I think the option to go to other countries in the world is a good option. But it's not a question of ambition. I have an ambition to settle Jews all over the vast areas of the land that was given by God to the Jewish nation. So this is my ambition. And in the midst of things, with the attacks of Arabs in different periods of history, and especially I emphasize now, the last attack, the last massacre on civilian population, that was the end of the history of the Gazans in Gaza.
But it
doesn't have to do with ambition.
Okay, there are 2 million people living in Gaza. Half of those people are under 18 years of age. More than 20,000 Gazan children have now been killed since October the 7th. My follow-up question is, how many of the innocent Gazans, how many of the Palestinian children do you think should come to, say, Israel and to be allowed to settle there?
To settle in Israel?
Yes.
Why?
You said if you're going to tell them, if you tell them to leave, well, because if you tell them to leave their home, and you say that they should live in other countries, why would Israel not want to provide a home for them?
No. Because the conflict between Israel and the Gazans brought this chapter into its end. We don't take any chance anymore. Many soldiers told me, some of them from my own family, that they were witness to so much talk and propaganda against Israel. And I think that there shouldn't be anymore any touch, any connection with between the Gaza population and the Jewish state. Let them be in other countries. There's 100 million Egyptians in Egypt, so there will be another 500,000 Gazans in Egypt, and some will be in Indonesia, other countries.
Okay, but if I suggest that we carve out an area of Israel to put the Palestinians, we just slice off. Let me finish. We slice off an area of Israel, and all the Israelis who currently live there have to leave and go and live in another country. Are you happy about that? Would you be happy with that?
You have some psychological need to slice pieces of the tiny state of Israel?
No, I'm just saying.
What's this need?
Listen, Gaza, as you know, well, hang on, let me finish. Gaza, as you know, is a very small territory. I'm talking about a similar-sized territory.
Is what? Gaza is what?
I'm talking about, it's a very small territory.
Gaza is what?
Gaza is very small.
And I know.
So I'm talking about taking...
Indonesia...
hang on. I'm talking about taking...
Africa is big.
Let me finish. I'm talking about taking the Gazan people, the innocent Gazan people, not Hamas, but innocent Gazan people. And I'm talking about taking a piece of Israel and removing all the Israelis who currently live there and sending them off to other countries. And then you put the Palestinian people in that space in Israel. How would you feel about
that? It's not a question of feel. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Why would that be wrong?
Why would that be wrong, Mrs. Weiss? Why would that be wrong?
Because it failed. We left Gaza in 2005, and we were promised that Gaza will be Singapore. And I didn't believe in it, but many Israelis did believe in it. And it turned into hell. Upper hell, down, lower hell, hell. And I think no more experiments. We are not a laboratory. We are a nation that wants to live in the land that was given to us, to the Jews, by God.
But
the Arabs, the Gazans don't want it. I don't want to be an experiment, a laboratory with experiments on the Jewish people.
No, so you've made it clear. You think it will be...
I answer you very... I want to tell you, what is your private name? Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. Too.
My name.
What is your name? I want to address you.
My name is Piers Morgan. Yeah.
Morgan? Can I address you, Morgan?
You can call me what you like. My name is Piers Morgan.
Piers? Piers, help me. Piers, what? I want to address you normally as two people who speak.
Call me Piers.
So Piers Morgan. This is what my...
Call me Piers.
Piers, okay. So I want to tell you, you want to proceed with an intelligent dialogue, or you are the interviewer and answering. Let's continue. But if you want to repeat this experiment of putting Gazans in Israel, the answer is simple. It will never be.
No, I heard you. I just wonder.
So much.
Okay. I just wonder. Okay. Hang on. I just want to give you a question. I just wonder. Obviously, you're outraged by the idea of Palestinian people taking the place of Israelis in Israel, and I understand that. But what gives you the right to then tell Palestinian people, innocent people, children, who've had nothing to do with Hamas, what gives you the right to uproot...
They attacked us.
Let me finish. to uproot those people from their homes and expel them in what would be ethnic cleansing, which is a war crime, as you know.
They attacked Israel on the 7th of October.
Yeah.
They massacred Jews on the 7th of October after we evacuated Gaza for their benefit. What is not clear in what I say?
Well, what is not clear is that you have also, in going after Hamas in Gaza, massacred between 70 and 100,000 Palestinians. And at what point does that become disproportionate? At what point does the fact that the Israeli government continues to prosecute this war in a way that kills so many children, does this become something which is completely unacceptable?
Okay, not acceptable. So it's a fact. If they had not, you say that it is not acceptable. I understand that it's not acceptable by you. I think that if the Gazans hadn't started, the Hamas hadn't started the attack, there wouldn't have been a war. And we, for instance, as people who were evacuated from Gaza, in the past 20 years, I must say it's kind of a unpleasant confession for me, but this is the truth of the matter, that we haven't dealt with the idea of returning to Gaza, returning to our homes, because we said, okay, there was a contract, we gave it away, we didn't want it to happen, it happened, and that's it. The gates closed.
Yeah, but here's the thing, here's the problem, Daniela. You have no right, Israel has no right to just take Gaza, to just take the West Bank, to expel
take Gaza.
To expel 8-9 million Palestinians. You have no right to do this. You have had no right to occupy Gaza for the last God knows how long. Where do you think you have this right to do all this? You're furious at the idea of any part of Israel being given up for Palestinians. Fine. Okay. But why would you then think it's fine for you to take over Gaza and the West Bank?
May I ask you, why do you repeat the same question 3 times? You know, I don't see your face, so it's a kind of difficult without the gestures. So
well, let me simplify it for you. What gives you the right?
What
gives you the right to think that you can expel millions and millions of Palestinians?
Look here. I don't know if the viewers, the people who see your program, have the patience for a historical summary. As the State of Israel was established in 1948, 3 days after the Holocaust, and 3 years after the Holocaust, and 2,000 years after the dispersion, after the Romans dispersed the Jewish nation. And then somehow there is an ingathering of the Jews in the land of Israel, the biblical land. And the biblical land that we hold to now is very tiny. We tried, according to the partition plan first, to be satisfied with a tiny, tiny piece of land where we have independence. And then when we were small, I would say tiny, and even without Jerusalem, we tried to manage a Jewish independence in the biblical state of Israel. And we were prevented from living this way. I was born before the state of Israel. So I know all this history from my own flesh and blood and my own family, and my father wounded in the War of Independence. So we tried to live in a tiny land, and the Arabs didn't let us live. So then there was the 6-Day War, and where I live now was liberated. I say liberated because it's the heart of our homeland, in the 6-Day War. And since then, we tried to live peacefully, and the Arabs don't let us. So how can you try to change facts? Now, you gave me a chance to relate tiny summary of history. If you have another way to put it, please go ahead.
Okay, I'll put it this way. I'll put it this way. Let me put it this way. The UK government has sanctioned you personally in May of this year. You were described as having been involved in threatening, perpetrating, promoting and supporting acts of aggression and violence against Palestinian individuals. You've been described as the head of extremist settlers. The vast majority of the international community, including the United Kingdom, consider the settlements illegal under international law. Last year, the UN's top court, the International Court of Justice, said that Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories is against international law, and Israel should stop settlement activity in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem and end its illegal occupation of those areas and the Gaza Strip as soon as possible. So that's a bit of history for you, which is that you have been seen as the godmother of Israeli extremists who believe that you have a right to all this land, you have a right to settle where you want to, you have a right to expel all the Palestinians and to take over their land. And I say to you that actually, under international law, you do not have that right. It's actually a crime, what you're doing. And you should stop doing it. So that's my question. My question for you is, why do you continue to break the law?
I don't know. You know, you present things in a very journalistic way, so I don't know.
Well, they're facts.
You say, do it.
Everything I just read you is a fact.
Yes. What facts? What facts?
I just read you the facts. I can read them again if you didn't hear them.
You know, Morgan, listen to this. I never hide what I do. I am being interviewed by you and by everyday media people come to this home and to the hills where I establish communities. And I tell what I think and what I do and what I plan. So if there is anything in what is so openly exposed that can be considered illegal.
Well, you're committing war crimes.
What is illegal in what I do?
You're committing war crimes.
Why? So you are speaking to me now.
Yeah.
You're giving so much time in your program to a person who commits war crimes. Yeah. Why do you do it?
I'm holding you to account.
What's the sense?
I'm holding you to account for your war crimes. I'm telling you should stop your war crimes. I'm telling you, you have no right to displace millions of Palestinians and kick them out of their homes. You don't have that right.
Morgan, you hope that through your program you will enhance the chance that I will be put to trial? Is this why you give me so much time in your program?
Yeah, I think ultimately you should face a trial. Yeah, you should. You're breaking the law. Yeah, and you're inspiring other people to break the law.
Okay. What shall I tell you? I don't think it's not on my part to cooperate with a person if you want to do what you said, if I heard you well in the beginning of this program, that you want to give a chance for different people to express their views.
Sure.
This is journalistic. This is respectable.
I've heard your views. I just don't agree with them. I've heard your views.
But then you said you want to enhance the chance that I will be put to trial. Well, I am not sure this is journalistic. But I'm with you in your hands now until this interview is finished.
I noticed
that's your decision.
I noticed that so far you haven't referred to the people of Gaza or the West Bank as Palestinians. Do you believe they're called Palestinians?
Palestine the name was given by Adrian, the emperor of Rome, who wanted to obliterate, to put an end to the Jewish existence in the world. So he gave a peculiar name to Jerusalem, Ilia Capitolina, and Israel-Palestina. And he tried very hard. And indeed, we were dispersed. And somehow, after so many years and so much persecution, we returned. And we are a successful nation.
But are they Palestinians?
So why should I support the distorted idea of Adrian, who failed? And now, after the revival of the Jewish state, Arabs from different countries come here and want to enjoy the treasures. I would say most of them are spiritual, but the treasures of the Holy Land.
Right, but just to be clear, you don't believe they're Palestinians.
The Jewish success.
You will not refer to them as Palestinians, right?
I think that Palestinians were invented by Adrian, and that the Arabs that come to Israel today want to get for themselves the success of the Jewish state that was created here after many years of dispersion.
Okay, and Mrs. Weiss, how do you feel about the fact that over 20,000 Palestinian children have now been killed since October the 7th in Gaza?
I think that the Palestinians, as you said, I said Palestinians, the Gazans and all Arabs around should stop attacking Israel.
Right, I just asked you how you felt about 20,000 children being killed by the IDF. So how do you feel about that?
I think that the parents should be very careful before they teach the children to hate Jews and to kill Jews.
No, that wasn't my question.
That
wasn't my question. Sorry to be persistent, but my question...
That was your question.
My question was, how do you feel? My question was, how do you feel? How do you personally feel about over 20,000 Palestinian children now being killed since October the 7th in Gaza? How do you feel about that?
I think that Arabs, Gazans or Jordanians or Syrians, whoever, should be very, very careful with the way they educate the children.
Yeah, that wasn't my question.
Now,
that wasn't my question.
Many of them.
Can you answer my question?
Answer. That was my answer.
So you don't care? You have no thoughts about these children at all?
You choose your questions, and I answer them the way I believe is right.
But just to be clear, you have nothing to say about 20,000 children being killed. Nothing at all. I have a
lot to say about everything that happened as a result of the massacre of the 7th of October.
I understand you care about Israeli children who died, as do I. But I'm able to care about both sides of children who've died. Why don't you care, seemingly, about the Palestinian children who've died? Why can't you express any sympathy or sorrow or empathy with the children who've died in Gaza? Are you able to do that?
I warn all Arabs from all sides, from all borders, warn them, stop educating children to hate Jews.
So just to be clear, I've now offered you three times.
I made myself very clear.
Oh, you've made yourself very clear.
You asked me 5 times.
I'm going to give you one last...
You asked me 7 times.
Okay, I'm going to give you one last chance to offer some empathy or sympathy or sorrow about the deaths of 20,000 children in Gaza. Are you capable of doing that?
I can tell you that had you cared, and I don't believe you that you care a tiny bit about one killed person, if you do not use the means that you have as a media person to stop educating children.
I gave you 4 chances.
Jews. Okay, you gave me 7. You gave me 7.
And you know what? You couldn't give a damn, could you?
That you are to blame more than me.
You don't care, and all you want is all the Palestinians gone. You can barely even bring yourself to say their name. All you want is to take over the West Bank and Gaza. You don't care how many die in the process. You want them all gone. You don't care, do you? That's the bottom line.
As you said, the audience will judge.
Yeah, they will. Daniela Weiss, thank you very much for coming on Uncensored. I appreciate it. Well, joining me on the panel is author and activist Rabbi Shmuley, the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Czech Yuga, and the Sunday Times columnist and author Matthew Said. Matthew, you were sitting here with me watching that interview. Your thoughts?
Well, I thought it was a very illuminating interview, and the kind of smiling maternal face of religious fundamentalism in Israel. You asked many times what gave her the right to ship out Palestinians from Gaza and the West Bank. She gave a whole range of answers, but the key one was early in the interview when she said she had a divine right. She believes that that area is promised to the Jews by God. And because of that, and the fact that she believes she has the absolute truth, she feels that anything is justified in meeting that aspiration. I've written a lot about this conflict, and I focused, I think rightly in many ways, on the fundamentalism of Hamas. They also think they've got absolute truth. They think they are justified in killing infidels, in killing Jews. But we have to recognise that Israel, yes, it's a liberal democracy. I support it instinctively. It's in a tough neighbourhood. But there are, within Israel, fundamentalists. And what worries me the most, Piers, is that within the Israeli cabinet, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, these are fundamentalists, nationalists. They have the ear of Netanyahu. And ever more, I get the sense that they are nudging the administration towards more carnage, more bloodshed. It's obliterating the image of Israel in the wider world, it seems to me, with no strategic objective in sight. And it was so interesting to listen to her and to see her implacability.
Yeah, I mean, Cenk, I found the constant smirking, the total refusal to offer any personal sorrow or empathy or sympathy with these kids who've been killed. You know, not even to try and phrase it as, you know, unfortunately, this is collateral damage in war. Nothing. No attempt to offer anything at all. Just an utterly intractable, hardline view. All this land belongs to Israel, and we're going to take it, and we don't care.
Yeah. Look, you just interviewed a terrorist, and she's one of the most vicious terrorists of my lifetime. These settlers are lunatic religious fundamentalists that believe in murdering Palestinians for God. It's an absurd interpretation of any religious document. The overwhelming majority of Jews, by the way, do not agree with them. They don't think that you have to murder Palestinians for God. And so when you asked her that last question, it was actually very interesting what her answer was. You said, do you mind 20,000 children being killed? And she said, as long as they're teaching their children to hate Jews, she seemed to be justifying that we have to kill their children. So think about the absurd logic of that. Since they teach them to hate us, we murdered their children. Gee, I wonder why they hate you. Like, the fact that she can't even see that shows you how painfully stupid this terrorist is. So I'm done. You guys are way too polite to Israel. Israel is a terrorist state. I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in supporting it. I'm not interested in having them steal more Arab land. And I said to you, Piers, a long time ago, that this was never about self-defense. This was about taking Gaza. Well, I was right. I've been proven right by Netanyahu and their terrorist government. I called them terrorists, and I said that they would kill more civilians than Hamas. Are you kidding me? They've now, get a load of this fact. Hamas killed 815 civilians on October 7th. Terrible. We've all condemned it 1,000 times. Now, Israel has killed 870 Palestinians under the age of 1. They have killed more Palestinian babies than Hamas killed civilians on October 7th. And every time it's a justification. No, we talked to God. God told us to steal Arab land. God told us to murder Arab children. What kind of sick state is this? When I saw her smiling, like you said, and smirking, now when I see a lot of these Israeli leaders, I feel like I'm looking at Germans telling us, no, it's okay. We can do this to the Jews. There's going to be no consequences. And their smugness partly, Piers, has to do with the fact that they think we own America. There's nothing you can do. We control the largest military in the history of the world. We can get them to do whatever we want because AIPAC has bought the entire U.S. government. And she's not wrong. She's not wrong. I mean, today Trump is talking about, yeah, you're not going to get the Epstein files. You're not going to get anything. We're occupied. We're all Palestinians now.
Rabbi Shmuley, I mean, when you listened to that interview with Daniela Weiss, what did you feel about it?
Piers, thank you for having me on. And having had a surprisingly civil debate at Oxford University with my brother Cenk, I'm actually going to excuse his hyperbole of calling Jews Nazis and stick to the facts because you were right, Piers. In your discussion with Daniela,
stop smearing Jews.
No, Cenk,
please.
Cenk, please don't. Okay, you're already interrupting me. Just be civil, please. We had a civil debate at Oxford. Let's try to continue. We shook hands afterward. Hundreds of thousands of people said how much they enjoyed watching us shake hands. Let's be human a little bit. I'm going to do what you said, Piers, and stick to the facts. Number one, Cenk just said that Israel killed so many more civilians that were killed on October 7th. 45,000 Britons died in the Battle of Britain when the Luftwaffe and Hermann Goering, bombed London, Northampton to smithereens. But Churchill killed 700,000 German children. He killed 3 million German civilians. That was terrible. But here's my question to you, Piers. Outside of Parliament is a giant statue of Churchill as the greatest statesman in the history of Britain. Was Churchill a war criminal, yes or no?
No, Churchill wasn't a war criminal. In fact, Matthew, I saw you shaking your head.
Okay. He wasn't. Okay. You said facts. You said facts.
Well, hang on. If you're going to make statements like Churchill,
45. Wait.
Your numbers aren't correct
you can
about
expand.
the number of civilians who died. Never mind anything else.
Yes, they are. There were 3 million German civilians killed by Britain and by the United States. There were 70,000 Japanese killed on a single day in Hiroshima and then Nagasaki. Half of them were children, 35,000. Was Harry Truman a war criminal? Was Roosevelt a war? If you are prepared to say, Piers, based on facts and based on what Cenk just said, that the proportion of civilians to combatant deaths determines whether you're a war criminal. And by the way, Churchill killed 5 civilians for every 1 German combatant. The United States in Fallujah killed 4 civilians in Fallujah in Iraq for every 1 terrorist Iraqi combatant. So was George W. Bush a war criminal? Was Tony Blair a criminal? If you're prepared to at least be consistent and say that, yes,
I think Bush and Blair were war criminals.
3 million. Was Churchill... Okay, do you think that Winston Churchill was a war criminal? It's a yes or no question.
No.
The same way you put it to Daniela, yes or no?
Churchill,
So Churchill can kill 3 million
All right, you've
Germans,
asked a question.
Okay?
You've asked a question. Matthew.
I think it's a completely coherent and fair question. It's about means and ends. Is the means justified to achieve a given end? For what it's worth, I think that consequentialist approach is legitimate. I think that Truman was justified in the atomic bombs. I say that reluctantly. But I think there would have been many more deaths had the Second World War not been brought to an end in that way. I know some people will disagree with that position. However,
okay, so you're one of the most fair
if I may just finish,
wait a second.
just
so
briefly
you're one of the
finish.
most fair person that I've ever spoken to about on this show. All I'm saying is, let's be clear. Piers, God weeps for every Palestinian child, the 20,000 children. I don't know if it's 20,000, but even if it is, that's weeps for every one. One was too many. But every Arab child is the equal of a Jewish child. But whose responsibility is it? Who builds? I live in a community here in New York, New Jersey. There is no army base near me. Why are the Hamas headquarters in nurseries? Why does Hamas use these children to die so that you will then point the finger? Now, even Hitler did not do that. The German military headquarters were not built in kindergartens. And let me say one final thing, Piers, if I may. Piers, you know what struck me about your interview with Daniela Weiss? You did not once ask her, what do the people of Gaza want? I don't care what Piers Morgan wants. I don't care what Daniela Weiss wants. I don't care what Cenk wants. I don't care what Robert Israel wants.
To leave.
The people of Gaza have not, don't speak for them in the same way I won't. They have not had a vote since 2005 when Hamas took the leaders of the PLO, the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, and threw their opponents off the roofs and killed them. Then Hamas abolished all elections. Now, I want the people of Gaza to vote. Do you want to remain in that tiny hovel where you don't have a backyard, where any money that's given to Hamas, if it's rebuilt, will be, again, it'll go to tunnels? Remember that the Hamas got triple the Marshall aid per capita per Palestinian, and they didn't build one bomb shelter, they didn't build one school, they didn't build one university, they just built tunnels and rockets. Ask the people of... So, Piers, let me ask you, why did you ask...
May I say to the rabbi... Forgive me for persisting here.
Decide where they want to live.
But the rabbi did say, I think legitimately, that he had been interrupted and he didn't like it. I was halfway through the point that I was making, if I may say so, when you jumped in. I said that I thought Truman was justified in ending the Pacific War. I think Churchill was justified in trying to end the war in Europe. What I don't understand, and I think a lot of people who are instinctively pro-Israel do not understand, are where are the sunlit uplands on the other side of the evisceration of Gaza? I've been told by senior Israeli officials, confidentially, that young Gazans, Palestinians and people across the Middle East are being radicalised, that these dead Hamas fighters are being replaced at a rate of 5 to 1. This isn't going to affect Israel for the next 5 months or 5 years, but for the next 50 years. And how on earth is flattening Gaza going to help the protection of Israel when their funders are in Tehran?
No, I agree.
The image, and let me just make one final point. In the medium term, I say to the rabbi, and I say this with great sincerity, the image of Israel, I don't want to superficialise it, but the brand of Israel, that liberal democracy in a tough neighbourhood which sits unconsciously behind Western support and has done since the Second World War, has been obliterated, shattered into a million pieces. The next generation of American leaders are going to grow up where the most salient image in their minds is not going to be the Holocaust, as it is for our generation. It's going to be emaciated Gazan children dying in their thousands, being starved via a blockade. I say to you, I understand why Israelis and Jews rallied around Netanyahu after October the 7th. Who wouldn't after an atrocity of that kind? But I believe you've been goaded into an overreaction that will reverberate through history of great strategic disadvantage to a country I want to do well.
I see you.
All right, and before I let Rabbi Shmuley respond, before you respond, Rabbi Shmuley, I just wanted to pick you up on the statistics that you regaled at the start of that, which I think you said that the British killed 3 million German civilians, including 300,000 children. Is that what you said?
A 5 to 1 combatant to civilian
just to be
ratio.
clear, you said 3 million, and of which 300,000 were children. That's what you said, right?
Right.
It's
the British decimated Cologne, they decimated Berlin, they decimated Hamburg, they decimated Dresden. In Dresden, they killed 30,000 in one night, etc.
Let me finish my point. You were completely wrong. You were wildly exaggerating the number of civilians killed by the British bombing campaigns, the Allied bombing campaigns. It's estimated between 350 and 500,000 German civilians were killed in total by Allied bombing in World War II. And I would also add this. At the end of
let me
finish my point. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. So it was a sixth of what you said, in fact. But the wider point is we brought in the Geneva Convention at the end of World War II specifically to address the issues of mass civilian casualties in World War II. The UK signed up to that. Most countries of the world signed up to Geneva. Israel is a signatory to the Geneva Convention, and yet it breaches regularly the Geneva Convention, including, many believe, what they're now doing as a government in Gaza.
I don't know how you could possibly say, by the way, I don't have the advantage of having researchers behind me or having a laptop. So can you ask your researchers how many German children did Churchill kill? That's what I want to know exactly.
Well, no, I've given you your chance to spew statistics. You were completely wrong.
How many children? You were completely wrong. How many German children who were totally innocent? No, 1 second. You said that Churchill killed 700,000. And now you said that Israel killed 40 or 50,000. Doesn't that make Churchill a much bigger war criminal than Netanyahu? Yes or no, Piers?
No, he's not a war criminal. Churchill is not a war criminal.
Why? He killed 700,000 civilians. Why?
Why aren't you answering my point?
You won't answer my point. If Netanyahu is a war criminal for killing 45,000 Palestinians, why is Churchill, whose statue sits outside Parliament, not a criminal for killing 8 times that amount of people? Go ahead, please.
Cenk.
And by the way, let me just tell you, Piers, you can't say the technology didn't exist because the Americans used the Norden bomb site and only did precision daytime bombing. Mr. Saeed will know that. It was Churchill who said, I will not risk a single RAF pilot. I don't care how many Germans die. I will only do indiscriminate, broad nighttime bombing. Churchill was out to decimate cities,
allow
to break
somebody
the
else
will
to speak,
of the German
please.
people. So why is he not a war criminal? You won't answer me, Piers. You won't answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm trying to answer but all you'll do is propagandize for a bunch of terrorists. So, first of all, Piers is absolutely right. We passed those Geneva Convention laws so that we could prevent crimes against humanity, not just what the Germans did to the Jews, the Poles, the Roma, etc., but also what the Allies did in indiscriminate carpet bombing of civilian populations. So we tried to learn from the Holocaust. We tried to learn from World War II, and we all said never again. These laws should not be broken because it leads to terrible situations. Israel then said, no, we're above the law. We get to break any law we like. And now, and in the case of the Germans, they were killing 6 million Jews. They killed 13 million overall. We were trying to stop a Holocaust. In this case, Israel is the one doing the genocide and saying, well, I mean, why are you trying to stop us from killing innocent Palestinians and taking their land? Because in that analogy, you're the Germans. So the Palestinians
I'm the German?
Those innocent children didn't do anything, dude.
Did you just call me a Nazi?
If you're supporting Israel. Yeah.
I'm a Nazi?
So, look, they did a Holocaust, which is...
And you called other people fundamentalists?
The current terrorist state of Israel.
You just called me a Nazi?
No. Hey, Rabbi, can I...
this is a sad day. This is a sad day for you, Cenk. Cenk, this is a sad day for you.
No, it's
just
not.
for your credibility, take it back. I'm begging you.
Not for me.
Can I finish my sentence? For your credibility, just take it back.
I'm not going to take it back.
This is a sad day for you.
I'm not going to take it back.
This is a sad day for you. So, this is to compare me to the SS as a Nazi. This is a sad day for you. Your credibility will never recover.
From Cenk.
I want to invite the viewer.
I'll never recover.
So Piers, may I answer? Piers, now that I've been called a Nazi, can I respond? Pierce, may I respond?
No, because I haven't finished the goddamn sentence. You think you own everything.
Go ahead,
you don't own everything, Rabbi Shmuley. You don't own the American government. You don't own the American people. By the way, when is America going to get its $300 billion back? We gave it to a bunch of criminals to murder children. Okay, you murder children with our money. Every day you take money out of my taxes. I go to work every day, and then Israel takes money out of it to murder Palestinian children. You've murdered 20,000 children already. You're the aggressors. Israel has already killed more babies than Hamas has killed civilians overall. Israel has killed a stadium full of women and children. And you are surprised that we compare you to the Germans? Omar Bartov, an Israeli-American Holocaust expert, just wrote an article in the New York Times saying that now the Israelis are doing the type of genocide that makes saying never again absurd. Absurd. Why are they doing the thing that was done to them? The world had tremendous sympathy for all Jews, and I do, all decent human beings do. But what Israel is doing is lighting that sympathy on fire and saying, we get to murder, we get to kill, and you can't call us any names. We get to call all Muslims who fight back against us terrorists. We get to attack all of our neighbors. They attacked Syria again today. We get to break all the laws. We get to commit war crimes. And I'm telling you right now, just like the Germans, you do not have the right to commit war crimes, to commit a genocide, to kill all those children, and then hide and use as a shield. Oh, everybody's an anti-Semite. You're canceled. You don't get to say it. You've ruined your credibility. No, Israel has ruined its credibility. Israel is now one of the most monstrous states I have ever seen in my lifetime. They commit endless terrorism. They rob the American people of our money to rob Palestinians of their land. That is actually a stone-cold fact.
Okay.
And I was right. Israel is now occupying 75% of Gaza. It was always to steal their land.
Okay.
And by the way, it is a desecration of Jewish history and Jews overall.
Pierce,
to compare what this government
Cenk, I want to bring
the history of Jews.
Okay, Cenk, I want to bring in Matthew to respond to that.
I just can't help thinking, listening to both of you, how different the region and the world would have been if after October the 7th, as the whole of the world reeled against the heinousness of that crime, the sympathy of the global south was with Israel. Polling was very strong for understandable reasons. And I don't want to reduce this to opinion polls. That was a moral atrocity. If Israel had acted proportionately, it's a difficult word in a context like this, but hadn't visited the carnage, had retained the support of the wider world, had gone for a rapprochement, an accord with Saudi Arabia. It already had the Abraham Accords. Most moderate Sunni opinion was in favour of more harmony between the Arab world and Israel. Most of these Arab governments are relatively moderate. Just think of that, how Iran would have been isolated, the collateral that Israel could have brought to bringing peace to the region. And what's happened instead? This overreaction, the inflamed conversation that we're listening today, ever more entrenched positions. And the thing that I think historians will be most fascinated in is how, as I understand it, good reporting from the New York Times just recently, that an accord with Saudi Arabia was scuppered from within the Israeli cabinet by Smotrich and the extremists, who have every incentive to keep this war going because of their really quite horrific objectives, and Netanyahu's personal political interest of obfuscating a trial for corruption. That is what I think is a great tragedy that is unfolding before our eyes. And listening to the entrenched positions of you two, Piers, I don't see an easy and obvious solution.
No, well, I certainly concur with the difficulty of solution.
Wait, I now disagree with Matthew. Don't equate us. Don't equate me with a terrorist.
Piers, I have to be able to speak. Piers.
Right, Rabbi Shmuley, your response.
I've been called a Nazi on the show. Okay, thank you very much. Matthew, you're a very fair person, but with all due respect, you're just not realistic. You are a noble idealist. The two most important words that were ever uttered in the Second World War were surprised upon Winston Churchill in Casablanca by Franklin Roosevelt, who didn't even tell him who was his ally. And Churchill had fought the Nazis alone. Those two words were unconditional surrender. Churchill said, if you insist on unconditional surrender against the Nazis, they're going to fight to the last man. And Churchill was actually secretly negotiating with Heinrich Himmler through Count Bernadotte in Switzerland without the Americans even knowing. The Americans insisted on unconditional surrender. And why? They understood when you have a terror regime like the Nazis who do engage in genocide, unless you finish them off completely and defeat the idea of militarism, that Hamas can achieve its objectives through military objectives and not diplomatic objectives, then you will never have peace. Hamas has launched 6 wars against Israel since Israel voluntarily withdrew from Gaza in 2005. Israel uprooted its own citizens. It was almost a civil war because it used the IDF to uproot its citizens. I want to talk fact here. Not what you think, Matthew, not what Cenk thinks, and Pierce, not what you think. Just fact. That's a fact. 2000. So Cenk says Israel wanted it back. They used their soldiers to uproot their citizens and destroy their houses. And my wife's first cousins was one of those houses, 2005. My children planted the last trees in Gush Katif, and they were cut down by Palestinians right afterward. 1 second. Let's stick to facts. Number 2.
So you wanted to steal their land from a long time ago.
No. 1 second. I did not interrupt you. Pierce, when you say breaking the Geneva Convention, that's not fact at all. Israel withdrew from Gaza. There are 1.9 million Arab Israeli citizens living under the protection of the IDF who don't even have to serve. Israel does practice apartheid, but reverse apartheid. It drafts Jews only and not Arabs to the IDF. My sons are fighting right now in Gaza and Lebanon, protecting 2 million Arab Israeli citizens. And let's remember, when Iran fired their missiles on Israel, 1 missile took out an entire Arab family near Nazareth, killed 7 Arabs. My sons are risking their lives for 1.9 million Arab Israeli citizens, which gives the lie factually to the utter stupidity and ignorance of what Cenk is saying about a genocide. Genocide was a term coined by a Jewish lawyer, survivor of the Holocaust, named Raphael Lemkin in 1947. It was adopted by the United Nations in 1948, the UN genocide. What is genocide? Geno is an ethnicity, a nationality. Side is mass murder. It's where you kill a nationality. If Israel wanted a genocide, the first people it would kill is the 1.9 million Arab citizens who vote, who have 10 members of the Knesset, whose members get up and curse out Israel every day and can't be arrested. They have diplomatic immunity. Israel is the most just, most democratic, and freest nation in the entire Middle East, which is why those Arabs in Israel did not rise up in revolt after October 7th. Now, Matthew, let me tell you one final thing.
Can I reply?
Matthew, wait, let me just finish. You're a very reasonable man. I wish you were right that after watching women have their breasts cut off and play baseball with it by the terrorists, when those women were raped and shot in the genitals, when Shani Luke was raped and then put on the back of that truck. On her
Israel murdered 20,000 children.
I wish that Israel could have thought of a proportional response. But Matthew, let me put this to you.
Please.
Don't you think the war would end tomorrow?
But you had to murder children instead. You were forced into
surrendered and released the hostages. Israel would leave Gaza tomorrow.
Right.
My children are in Gaza. I want them out.
No,
I don't want
wouldn't.
Gaza. I want the people of Gaza to have a vote. I don't want what Cenk says. I don't want what Piers said. I don't want what Daniela Weiss said. Give the people of Gaza a vote. Where do you want to live? Where do you want to be displaced to a better country?
You had a long go. There was a key.
Let Matthew respond. You asked him a question. Let him respond.
You at the beginning of that contribution, you made a substantive and I think reasonable argument. You drew an analogy between the destruction of Hamas and the destruction of the Nazis. I think this is a flawed analogy. Nazism was a nationalist movement within Germany. It was not intended to be an international movement. Germans' allies in the Second World War, Italy and Japan, it wasn't really an axis. They hated each other. They didn't coordinate effectively. By defeating the Nazis in Germany, they defeated Nazism. Religious fundamentalism crosses national borders. It's an ideology. You can't, please understand, you cannot bomb it into submission. I mentioned earlier that they're replacing dead Hamas fighters at a rate of 5 to 1. This is going to come back to haunt you for years. The way to do it was to isolate the funders in Iran by having a proportionate response, less than what you've done, retaining global public opinion. These metaphors, and I've heard them from Israeli politicians, they melt under scrutiny. Please think about, by the way, the psychology is completely different between what's happening in the Second World War, German, European psychology, where you could rebuild a democratic country, and what's happening in Hamas in Gaza. Unless we're clear, unless we have clarity over what the objectives are for Israel, Netanyahu's not talked about day one. We have no idea what the plan is, except for Smotrich's idea of ethnic cleansing, which would tarnish Israel's image irredeemably.
Yeah, I've got to leave it there.
But Matthew, we do know.
I've got to leave. I've got to leave it there.
We do know. I've got to say,
listen.
Israel says they're going to take Gaza. They say Palestinians will never get a state.
Israel.
So we know. I don't know why you're obfuscating for Israel.
It was
Israel
Trump who said he would take Gaza.
We're going to murder the Palestinians until we take Gaza. They say total annihilation. Why do I say the Germans? Because they're talking like the Germans.
I can't believe you didn't hear that.
Total annihilation of the Palestinians.
The good thing is we have a thing. We have a thing.
Donald Trump said he's taking Gaza.
We already know.
The
good thing is
75% of Gaza.
The good thing is, if I may, the good thing is it's come out of Smotrich's own mouth, the finance minister, that the plan is to, quote, cleanse Gaza of Palestinians. Right. It was unequivocal. We all heard him.
Smotrich is one guy in the government, and he was. And the next day, Bibi told him that I totally disagree.
Then I get told he doesn't matter. No one listens to him, and yet the New York Times.
I didn't say he doesn't matter.
New York Times reported that the whole deal to release hostages.
I completely disagree.
When the whole deal to release hostages a year ago was abandoned because of Smotrich. So a guy who doesn't matter managed to do that, which would have prevented tens of thousands of people
being... That's not true.
There were
two ceasefires already against Smotrich.
I've got to leave it there.
And he left the government, so that's not true.
I've got to leave it there.
Smotrich, you got to be factual.
Stop funding Israel.
Smotrich is an evil human being.
They should not... Give us the $300 billion back, Israel.
And he is a senior government minister.
We didn't send it for war crimes.
Who is making it clear what he wants to do.
I've got to leave it there.
I've got to leave it there, Rabbi Shmuley. We have run out of time. I have another guest waiting. I'm going to leave it there. You all had a good time to speak. I appreciate the debate. Thank you very much.
Matthew, it was great meeting you. God bless you.
Well, joining me now is the actor and activist Jacob Berger, who is part of a second Freedom Flotilla headed for Gaza. Jacob, thank you for joining me on Uncensored.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on the show.
You know, I'm not a massive fan of these flotillas, as I think you're probably aware. I didn't really see the point of the one that Greta Thunberg embarked on. I'm not really sure what the aim is. If it's to raise awareness about what's happening in Gaza, I think the whole world is extremely aware of what is happening. And I don't see that anything that happened from the last flotilla has made a scintilla of difference to the situation. So why do you disagree?
Well, I disagree with this because there's been an illegal siege on Gaza by Israel since 2007. It's funny that your guest Daniela kind of talked about Israel leaving Gaza, but obviously we know that they've been stopping and blocking aid. What Israel is doing is completely illegal. And the flotilla, the goal of the flotilla is to break that siege, to hopefully inspire other people to create a humanitarian corridor to bring much needed aid to the people of Palestine who are being systematically genocided and the weaponization of starvation of food. And it's going to be very important that we continue on with this because as many times as Israel might stop us, we're going to keep going.
Right, but like I say, the first flotilla with Greta Thunberg, it didn't achieve anything.
Well, it wasn't the first flotilla, Piers. This one that we're about to go on embark is the 37th. Okay, and what it did is it brought a lot of attention to what Israel is doing.
But I just don't agree with that. The only one I was even aware of was the Greta Thunberg one. So,
well, you should be aware in 2010 that Israel boarded the flotilla and killed 10 activists.
I'm aware of that, but you're talking about prior to October the 7th then?
Yeah, yes, we've been going since 2008, correct.
Okay, so I'm talking about what's happened since October the 7th. And I think the reality of the Greta Thunberg flotilla is that you got a lot of publicity for Greta Thunberg, as her campaigns tend to do, but it was singularly ineffective. And I just don't...
Well, it wasn't as far as bringing in aid. That's part of it. But the real part of it is to put the highlight, like I said, of the illegal blockade and siege of Gaza by Israel. What we're doing, trying to deliver aid, is totally legal. We're going in international waters into Palestinian waters.
But you're not going to be able to do it, are you?
Piers, can I finish, Piers? It shows the evil of Israel and how they will do anything to stop us trying to help the people of Palestine. I mean, you would agree that weaponizing starvation is immorally wrong, right?
Yes, I would. And I've been very critical about it. And I think the fact that Israel won't allow any international journalists into Gaza is a complete disgrace. I'm just not convinced that these flotillas are anything more than, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, a bit of an ego trip for Greta Thunberg and people such as yourself, even though I don't question your personal motivation. I think I probably agree with you about a lot of it. I'm just not sure these flotillas are anything other than a PR exercise.
Well, you should speak to the people in Gaza, because the people of Gaza, this type of flotilla mission gives them a lot of hope. It shows that the world actually cares about them. And we're going to still do everything we can to try and break that siege. The real question is, why is Israel intimidated by a boat filled with peace activists just trying to bring food and diapers and baby formula to civilians?
But you know you won't be able to get that to Gaza.
That's not beside the point. We're trying to break through. If obviously Israel kidnaps us, which they did kidnap Greta. I know you kind of dragged her over the coals saying that it wasn't, but it was by all means a kidnapping. They kidnapped them in international waters, and it just further highlights the crimes of Israel.
I actually think that using the word kidnap in the scenario of her simply being taken off and then led away,
yes, with all due respect,
where she came from. To be honest, Jacob, I actually just felt it was incredibly insulting to the hostages who were actually kidnapped, to use a word like kidnapped when Greta Thunberg was given some sweets and a nice drink and had a blanket put around her and was taken off the flotilla and then
You were so good
taken away.
This whole episode holding the Zionists to the coals, and now you're reverting back to Zionist Hosmer talking points.
I don't take sides.
No, you are. You're talking about the sandwich and the thing and the selfie float and all that. Yeah. I see what you're doing here.
Well, I saw what happened. I saw the video footage.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
What's your point?
She wasn't kidnapped, and it's insulting to hostages who were kidnapped to say she was kidnapped.
With weapons drawn. They came with weapons drawn, Piers. Okay, maybe you don't believe it to be so, but lawyers and international advocates would disagree with you.
You feel comfortable using the word kidnap, knowing what happened to so many
Absolutely.
hostages?
The same way I wouldn't use the terms hostages for who's left in Gaza. They're all POWs at this point.
Right.
They're all soldiers in there.
Okay. When do you hope to get to Gaza?
Right now, we're having a pit stop here in Gallipoli, Italy. We'll be leaving out on Friday. It should take about a week for us to sail to Gaza. We're going to keep the attention of the world on what we're doing. And so about a week, 8 days or so, assuming we don't get intercepted by Israel.
Okay. Well, Jacob Berger, I wish you safe travel. I hope nothing untoward happens to you guys. And like I said,
we had a whole. That's all.
Huh?
That's it.
I don't think you're going to make a shred of difference to what's happening in Gaza whatsoever. No.
Well, Piers, I mean, honestly, I don't know why you totally shifted your tone here. You know, you were being very critical of Danielle, and now you're acting like a Zionist with me.
No, I'm not a Zionist, and I'm not.
Honestly, it's despicable the way that it's despicable the way that you went after Greta, who has more courage and more honesty in her heart than you will ever have.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either, but that's fine. That's your opinion. You're entitled to it.
And you tell Rabbi Shmuley that he'll burn in hell as well, because obviously he's a shame to Jews, him and Danielle.
Okay.
And free Palestine. All right. Nice to see you, Piers.
Good luck, and I hope it goes safely for you. Thank you for joining me.